13 ABC. Conklin and Company with 13 ABC Action News anchor Lee Conklin. First with what's happening behind the headlines. And Take 3, our panel of political analysts.
Morning, everybody. Welcome into another edition of Conklin and Company. Today on the program, the Toledo mayor's race getting even more crowded. Councilman D. Michael Collins will try it again. And council and the mayor's team sparring over federal grant money, allocation of funds that in the end could mean a lifeline for some local shelters. That's in Take 3. We'll take you to Washington with our bureau chief, Jacqueline Policastro, talk the IRS scandal and the effort by some local families to end the ban on the adoption of Russian orphans. But first, the road traveled, getting more congested. Construction projects seemingly everywhere as we begin to break them down. We get into the midst of the construction season with Teresa Pollock, Public Information Officer for the Ohio Department of Transportation, former meteorologist here at 13 ABC. You're not a former meteorologist, you still are, correct?
Yes,
you don't
I still
lose
am.
your license, right?
No,
Teresa?
you don't.
So in your job, you carry a couple of hats here, but this one is about really a preponderance of major construction projects, Teresa, that folks who travel in Northwest Ohio deal with. It means jobs, right?
It does mean jobs.
A lot of jobs and sometimes delays in getting to and fro. First of all, let's talk about this major project in the works for the Central Avenue I-475 interchange. It's a big one.
It is a big one. We are currently in the process of going through our environmental process, in which we just had a public meeting, in order to get approval and to get the design phase going for the I-475 Central Avenue project. Basically, we're going to reconstruct the interchange and adapt some portions of Central Avenue. Here's a view of that meeting, and as you can see, we're meeting with the public to gather more information and facts from them about how this project is going to impact them.
Okay, and people who travel Central Avenue probably feel like, boy, this construction on Central, it's been going on for decades now as the growth of Sylvania continues and the Central Avenue strip, all the traffic. So is it based on absolute need, just too many cars, not enough lanes? I mean, what's it come down to?
Well, we look at two different things. The main reasons why we do these major projects are congestion and safety. And when you look at that, we look at the whole entire corridor of Central Avenue. We say, okay, this is an area where we'll see an increase in accidents due to the amount of heavy traffic in the area. And then we also look at the safety aspects as well. So those two combined are one of the top reasons why we look at doing a project such as this.
And it's funny, we shot this video earlier this week and we both commented, this is the least amount of cars we've ever seen on Central Avenue at this particular juncture. But also, I think we're going to see some video. What do you call here? YouTube video, and that you had a term for it.
It's called a SPUI, a single point urban interchange, and it's something that is going to be new here to Northwest Ohio. We've seen it in other places. If you're familiar with Sawmill Road and 270 in Columbus, they have what is called a SPUI. And what this is it helps to eliminate some conflict points, and it also makes the interchange a little bit safer and more efficient to travel as you look at going onto the interchange, on and off the interchange. There's a look at one of the design schematics of what the view looks like of the actual SPUI itself. So it's something that's going to be different here in Northwest Ohio, but it will make those improvements. And if you noticed, Central Avenue is curved a little bit to the south, and that is to avoid the number of the impacts to property takes that we'll see along the shore. So what we did in designing this is look for as least amount of interference with those property takes, which is something very important in the design process.
Right, but in the end, you feel you may have to, some families may indeed be asked to leave.
Yeah, but
right?
that impact is minimal when you compare it to a lot of the other projects that we do. And we do our best. We have a whole
the bypass, for example.
Yeah, the bypass, for example. We have a whole process in which we go about those real estate acquisitions, and in which they're offered fair market value and also the expenses of moving. So it's something that we try to work with the communities. Some people are really excited to go. Others may not be. It just depends.
Right. And reviews on the bypass. We talked about this as it was finished last summer. Reviews on that. As somebody who uses it, I got to tell you, it's like you're on the Autobahn traveling. Yeah, I don't go that fast, but it is really a nice road.
Yep, we want to remind everybody travel the speed limit, but so far the reviews on the new US 24 have been fantastic. That one, much like a lot of the other projects that we look at, have a big safety component down to it. And in fact, it's limited access across the 4-lane. And what that means is you can only get on in 295, 64, and other points along the new US 24. But so far, the reviews have been great. And because that safety component greatly improved, I'm not sure, but I don't know the exact statistics, but I have not heard of many accidents along the new US 24 bypass as you would here when you compared it to the old one.
Yeah,
so.
and then we've got the 475 project near ProMedica Parkway, and there's a lot going on there, and it doesn't look like it looks like we've got a lot of work left to do.
There is still a lot of work left to do. However, Lee, the project is going to be wrapping up this December, which is good news for everyone out there, because we're right now building some of the beams, installing the beams. Most of that work has been complete. We'll start working on Central Avenue, getting it wider in the area. You can see where we are going to be working. The new ProMedica Parkway interchange, that's going to greatly open up a lot of opportunities for those in West Toledo, a lot of access to get in and out of that area more efficiently versus the old Jackman ramps where you have to turn off. This will be one central point which you can get to the entire area, which is what ODOT is basically all about. Plus, what we're doing at the interchange at 75, that's going to help down the road too when we get into the 75 widening.
Okay, and that brings me to my next question here. The widening of I-75. Is this indeed going to happen? Still in the proposal phase? Or are we looking at a wider 75 from Perrysburg per se down to Bowling Green? I mean, what's in the works? It's
going to happen, Lee. The question is when, and that when all depends on funding. Right now in District 2, we are ready to have it widen. In other words, we've looked at a lot of the design that we need to do in putting it together. And so once that funding becomes available, you're going to notice a lot of construction on I-75. Could be as early as next year. We could begin to see that widening all the way from Findlay up to basically the Ohio-Michigan line.
Okay, and you know what? It can't be 2 lanes anymore. I mean, it just you get down to Findlay and up to Bowling Green, North Baltimore, and then into Toledo and Perrysburg. I mean, it needs to be wider.
When you look at transportation, the large perspective, the way that freight moves is basically how you look at that. In 75, a major corridor, they're doing it right now on the Ohio Turnpike with the 3 lanes there. So when you look at the basic movement of freight across the entire United States, 75 is just key and crucial. And right here in Northwest Ohio, to have this investment is going to be so big for the area. Not to mention the big intermodal freight facility that you have in North Baltimore. That's a big part of it. The Port Authority. There's so many components here in Northwest Ohio that can come together once we get this widening done for economic development.
All right, let's go back to the beginning real quickly. Timetable for the Central Avenue project.
Timetable, we're looking at construction in 2015. So right now we're still working on the designs for that. So we're looking at 2015. Once again, I've heard some rumors out there that it was going to be earlier, but right now we're looking at construction to begin in 2015.
All right, Teresa Pollock, as always, thanks for the update. We appreciate it.
Thanks so much, Lee.
And always great to see you. We'll come back in just a minute, talk about texting and driving, staying safe on the roads, the possibility or the push to lower the blood alcohol limit from 0.08 down to 0.05. Just a minute.